Good morning, Hong Kong, and welcome back to another episode of Hong Kong Insurance 101. This week, we're talking all about liability and liability protection. First things first, liability is the state of being responsible for something, especially with regard to debt or financial obligation. There are other definitions of liability in relation to embarrassment, for example. But for the purposes of insurance in Hong Kong, there is possibly no more important concept. Unfortunately, under the law, liability is broadly applicable to many different kinds of loss. Something or someone should normally have ultimate responsibility for any situation causing a loss, whether that is damage to property or physical injury and even death. In most cases, the legal system in Hong Kong will work to determine who was liable for any given loss being experienced and will expect that entity to provide adequate compensation for the loss. For example, an employer has certain duties they must perform in respect of their employees. Providing a safe working environment is one of these duties. If an employee suffers an accident or injury during the routine course of their employment, then the employer is deemed to have been liable for that injury. As such, the employer is responsible for providing compensation to the employee. Fortunately, in Hong Kong, there is a legal obligation for all employers to purchase employees' compensation insurance, which protects their liability exposure. The insurance compensates the employee directly, fulfilling the employer's financial obligation under law and ensuring that the employer does not have to personally pay for any damages. Beyond the EC protection, a business is responsible for the safety of its premises. If a customer or member of the general public is injured by the business's fixtures or fittings, or by any negligence on the part of the business in ensuring that the premises are safe, then the business will be liable for those injuries. Without some form of insurance in place to protect against this eventuality, the business will be directly responsible for compensating accidents which occur on its property. In Hong Kong, public liability is the type of insurance that protects business from this risk. Also known as third-party property and injury insurance, public liability insurance protects businesses from liabilities claims for property damage or bodily injury. This means that holding a Hong Kong business insurance public liability insurance policy will see any company receive relief from the insurance provider if a customer or member of the general public claimed that the business itself was responsible for causing any of these situations or ills. This can be hugely important as the costs associated with liability claims can reach into the hundreds of millions of Hong Kong dollars, depending on the loss and the culpability of the entity which was responsible. Failing to correctly affix an advertising sign over a public right-of-way and then having that sign fall is a nightmare scenario that is all too possible on Hong Kong streets. Likewise, this liability risk can come from something as innocuous as an exposed wire in an office that a client trips and falls over. Even with minor injuries, a liability claim can be extremely expensive. There are many liability risks facing businesses in Hong Kong, from employees being injured and to providing faulty and defective products to accidentally injuring a passerby. Some of the more common liability risks are extremely evident, but many of the professional and financial products available in Hong Kong will also deal with liability. Professional indemnity, for example, can touch on vicarious liability, that where an employer or business is liable for the actions of their staff. There are simply too many risks which involve this type of coverage to go into them all fully. But liability protection, no matter what liability you're protecting against, can be invaluable for any business in Hong Kong. That's us for this week. As always, we hope you have a happy and healthy weekend. Remember to like and subscribe to stay current with all our content as it comes out. And don't forget to ask CCW. We're simplifying your insurance.